Welcome back, Truth Seeker. This video is to teach you an easy way to break the knowledge of Gematria to somebody. If you're new here, Gematria is the practice of coding numbers within words. It's known as geometry within language. Let's talk about the word geometry in the language of Gematria. First, they tell us that the diameter of the sun, the distance across, that diameter multiplied times 108 is the distance from the earth to the sun. They also say that the diameter of the earth times 108 is how big the sun is across. The diameter of the sun is 108 times greater than that of the earth. They also say that the diameter of the moon, that distance times 108 is how far it is from the moon to the earth. So 108 showing up in a big way when it comes to the earth, sun, and moon. And think about how in geometry you spend a lot of time drawing circles. Here we're talking about objects that orbit each other. And what's so fascinating is that the word geometry in the language of Gematria sums to 108 with the alphabetic order. This is A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, up to Z. The 26th letter is 26. Reverse ordinal is the exact opposite. Z is 1, up to A is 26. And there's not a lot of words that have the same gematria forwards and backwards. And with regards to geometry summing to 108, think about what those three numbers are. 1 is essentially a line. You draw a 1 on a piece of paper, it's going to look like a line. In geometry, you do a lot of graphing of lines. Geometry, it's mostly plotting points and graphing lines, as well as measuring circles. Anyone who's taken geometry class remembers a lot of doing that on graphing paper. So 1's a line, 0 is essentially a circle, and what's 8? It's pretty much 2 circles. You know, those are the fundamental things of geometry. Notice also that geometry has this reverse reduction gematria of 36. That's using the rules of numerology. So in reverse gematria, Z is 1. I'll just show you this. Z is 1, so in reduction, Z is also 1. Q is the 17th letter, or excuse me, it's the 10th letter in reverse order. The numerology of 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. P would be the next letter. P would be the 11th going in reverse. 1 plus 1 is 2. And you see what's happening over here? P's the 16th letter with the normal alphabetic order. 1 plus 6 is 7. So these 4 ciphers based on the alphabetic order, forwards and backwards, and then the reductions are using the rules of numerology. You know, just to make sure it's clear, A, 1, in reverse ordinal, A is 26, 2 plus 6 is 8. You know, in ordinal counting, J is the 10th letter. 1 plus 0 is 1. See how this all works? It's just all mathematics. But what I want you to see is how geometry is also 36. Pythagoras, the Greek, gematria, traditionally attributed to Hebrew and the ancient Greeks. Think about geometry class, the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Pythagoras was very much into this language of gematria, which is known as isopsophy when it's practiced within Greek. And this right here is one of the golden triangles, the golden gnomon. Pythagoras was particularly fascinated with this triangle and all of its mathematical relationships. Notice it has a 108-degree angle as well as 36. And lo and behold, this is coded into our language. As for the 45, this number, Pythagoras, first of all, thought that number 9 was so special because there's so many interesting things about 9. And starting with 45, it's the 9th triangular number. If you add 1 through 9 together, it sums to 45. If you multiply any number times 9, it will take on a numerology of 9. So just to make the point, 1 times 9 is 9, right? 2 times 9 is 18. What is 1 plus 8 in numerology? 9. 3 times 9 is 27. 2 plus 7, 9. It doesn't matter what number it is. Any number multiplied by 9 will take on a numerology of 9. And let's just pick a crazy number out of the hat to emphasize. This is one of the reasons 9 is so special. We could just do 704,558 times 9. It's going to break down to a numerology of 9. So we get this huge number, 67,122. 6 plus 7 is 13. Plus 1 more is 14. Plus 2 more is 16. Plus 2 more is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. Doesn't matter what number, you multiply it times 9, it ends up taking on a numerology of 9. It's not true for any other number. Only 9 does that. There's also the thing with our fingers. If you don't know the times 9 trick with our fingers, 1 times 9, the way you symbolize that, and I'm not real good at lowering just a single finger. If I just take away my pinky, my fingers don't work together. If I just take away my pinky and I say that that's 1 times 9, notice the fingers that are still up, there's 9, right? And then if I say 2 times 9, the way I symbolize that is I drop my second finger, and then notice I still have my pinky up, so that's 1. And then the next fingers that are up are 8 in a row, so 1 and 8. 2 times 9 is 18, right? So I have a 1 up, and then I have 8 more up, 18. 3 times 9, now I have 2 fingers up, and then 7 more fingers up, so 27, right? 3 times 9 is 27. 4 times 9, I drop the 4th finger. I got 3 fingers up over here, and then I got 6 more fingers, 36. You see? You can do this with every finger. 5 times 9. I got 4 fingers up, and then I got 5 more. 5 times 9 is 45. So you can do that with every single finger. And then when you get to the last finger, you got 9 up, and then 0 up. 90. 9 times 10 is 90. So 9, it's special. And 45, not only is it 1 through 9 sum to 45, 45 also breaks back down to 9. Has a nice mathematical relationship. And this is coded into the word geometry. And the plural of gematria is this. This is the word for the plural, gematrio. Gematrio. Notice it's 45 as well as 108. As for the 54, look at what happens when I write out 45. 45 has gematria 54 and 45. And 54 has gematria 54 and 45 as well. Reflections of each other. Now, we started with the sun. I just want you to see that sun has gematria 54. You see? And to the Egyptians, that's where Pythagoras studied, learning a lot of this knowledge. Horus represented the sun to the Egyptians, you see? 54. So none of these numbers are arbitrary. But again, you want to break somebody into this gematria knowledge? Gematria is geometry in language. The coding behind the English language has a lot to do with the 2 most relevant objects to this earth that work on the principles of geometry. Perfect orbit and mathematical sequence. So you want to teach somebody this knowledge, this is the place to start. Absolutely. And, there's other interesting things you can show them, such as how English using the alphabetic order is the same as gematria. What are the odds of that? And you can explain to somebody that this entire code comes from Kabbalah, which equals 52, which is based on the tree of life, 52. The Jewish word for that is the Etz HaChaim, 52. The language from Kabbalah that's about the letters and numbers. Whoops, it's not geometry, it's gematria. 52. If you've ever heard of the Cabal, that name is derived from Kabbalah, and for the longest time, this was secret knowledge to elites. The Cabal, And it still would be if I hadn't come along and broken the code. And why did I break the code? Because I had a lot of determination to figure out what was going on in this world. And I knew that whatever was going wrong, or whatever was going on, the wrongdoing, had a lot to do with numbers. I saw it in the stories. And September 11th was a huge wake-up call for me. 911, national emergency, September 11th. You know. So. And just for this being for, the authority, some more 52, government, 52, People think this stuff's a coincidence. They are not thinking. They're dismissing. And understand that this subject's for somebody who wants knowledge. And a lot of people in this world, they don't want knowledge. They just want to be in the place they're already in. So many people, they think once they get out of school, they're done learning. They don't need to learn anymore. They just want to get by and enjoy life. And many people don't find knowledge enjoyable. And that's a shame. But that seems to be a flaw that's been with humanity for a long time. So you share this with somebody and they just shrug it off and say, so what? Well, that's what you learned about that person. They're someone that doesn't care about information or knowledge. They don't believe that knowledge is power, or they don't think that knowledge is power. And make one last point. For all you good little Christians out there with your King James Bible, remember, the belief of the Kabbalists, and this entire code does come from the Holy Bible, the belief of the Kabbalists is God is the master mathematician. God is the geometer of the world. God has built everything through geometry, the circle. The belief is that everything starts with a circle, the mathematics of the circle. The King James Bible came out the year King James turned 45. That was 1611. He was born 1566. Notice the gematria of Holy Bible. 45 forwards and backwards. And with regards to 153, that's the 17th triangular number. God, 17. Remember who God commands? Moses. So the entire Bible is this code. From the start to the finish. Genesis has gematria of 33. Very special number in the Bible. Genesis means in the beginning, which is 137, the 33rd prime. Alphabetic order, 137 in reduction, Genesis 33. And Genesis first to 39 books in the Old Testament. Unless you go by the Catholics who have an extra, what do they have? The Catholic Bible's 73 books, so they have an extra 7 books in the Old Testament. And why do the Catholics have 73 books? 73 is the 21st prime number, and Bible equals 21. See? This whole code was secured by the Knights Templar and brought back to the Catholic Church at the end of the Crusades. And for the record, Knights Templar, 65, just like Christianity, 65. See? But just right here, show people what's up with 108. The distance, the diameter, the language. To think that that's all coincidence, that word is a killer. Coincidence. Until next time, true seekers.